to another video. It's Katie, and in this video I'm going to share with you how to plan a dessert table. So I actually have a dessert table business. So if you're in the Rapid City, South Dakota area, you can contact me and I can actually do one for you. But whether you don't live in this area or maybe you want to do one yourself for an event, I wanted to share with you kind of how I plan them out. And I'm also going to be sharing with you a document that I created that'll help you kind of like walk through these steps, because putting a dessert table together is actually kind of overwhelming. There's so many moving parts to it, and so in this video I'm going to share with you how to plan it. First of all, I want to share why dessert tables. Well, dessert tables are amazing because they kind of give you a little bit of everything, and people can kind of take what they like, so whether that's cake or whether that's a shooter or whatever it might be, a bar. And then the other part that I love about them is that everything's grab and go. There's no cutting cake or anything like that. Like you can have a cutting cake like for the bride and groom to cut, but like not like cutting up a cake, you know? And they're also super beautiful, and I love also that they kind of meet a lot of dietary restrictions. So you can have like gluten-free, naturally gluten-free dessert options, or dairy-free or vegan or whatever it might be that you feel like you need to meet. But they don't all have to be that way. You can have like an option that fits that bill if you have people that you know of coming to your party like that. So these are great for birthdays, anniversaries, any sort of party, weddings. That's what I do them for, is weddings. I will be having a video coming up that kind of shares like how you could do one for your own wedding, because being in a wedding and trying to do the dessert for that wedding is challenging. So I'm going to give you a few tips to do that if having somebody else do it is not really in your budget. So anyway, today, how to plan a dessert table. So the first answer or question that you want to answer is how many people are going to be coming. Like, you need to come up with that number, and the planner that you can access is down in the description. You do have to give me your email address so I can give you more fun ideas, but you can pick that up, and it's just a PDF that kind of walks you through this. But anyway, you're going to give the number of guests, and that's just going to kind of help you start off. From there, you're going to determine the number of desserts. Now, it can be varying from 1 to 3 desserts per person as you plan this. It kind of depends on, first of all, like what type of guests you have. The older they are, typically, the fewer desserts they'll eat, and the younger they are, the more desserts they'll eat. Not always a hard and fast rule, but you kind of have to know your group of people just a little bit. Like, do they really like dessert? Some people aren't into that, which I don't get, but there are groups of people like that, so just be aware of that. Choosing 1 to 3 desserts per person, and then once you've chosen that, simple multiplication. So if you have 50 guests coming and you're planning like 1.5 desserts per person, multiplying that out, and that's the number of desserts that you'll need to have. I then also have a spot for you to just kind of like pick some dessert ideas. So as you're choosing dessert ideas, you want to think about having a variety. So a variety of flavors. So like chocolate, lemon, vanilla, and then also if you want to incorporate certain dietary restrictions, whether that's like a Rice Krispie bar or whatever it might be. I have lots of recipes all over this channel, and obviously there's many more on the internet, so you can kind of get started there, and you can use your own recipes. You don't need to use all new recipes. That sounds very exhausting. So yeah, plan some ideas there. Typically, I wouldn't recommend more than 3 to 5 desserts. Once you get over 5, people kind of start wasting them. So, and they just like, they can't make a decision. They really struggle. So help them out. Keep it to a decent level. Oh, having an option with like nuts, like a pecan bar, things like that. People like that too. So I would just come up with all your dessert options and then go from there, narrowing it down so that you kind of have something that meets all of those needs in the fewest number of options possible. Again, having too many options is not actually helpful, and typically you'll run out of one and you'll have tons of another one. So just kind of keeping it balanced is helpful. As you're planning this, you're planning the dessert ideas, pulling those recipes together, and then you need to start putting shopping lists together. You do really want to plan ahead with this project. If you wait till the end, I mean, if you're making 5 different desserts and you wait till the end to think about all this stuff, it will become very complicated, and it doesn't have to be. So and you'll see this in the PDF down in the description. But what I typically do is I'll have all my dessert recipes, and I'll go through and say, like, I need to purchase these ingredients from Sam's, these ingredients from Walmart, and in our day and age, often, like, certain places are out of certain things, so usually kind of filling in the gaps with where I can get them. Also, I'll make an Amazon list, so if I'm doing like the little shooter desserts, then those little glasses and glasses and spoons I order off of Amazon. So just building lists for each of these places, and then typically I'll create pickup orders because if you have to go shopping, at least I'm not a big grocery shopper. I don't really enjoy it. So doing pickup orders, having those all set up, days in advance, weeks in advance, whatever it might be. That planning is so key to making it low stress when you get to the actual baking, because if you wait to make 5 different things like a day in advance, it will be stressful. At least it would be for me. And then the other thing that I really recommend is building a timeline. So thinking about the desserts you're making, and I think having a timeline where you're freezing some of your desserts is a great option, especially if you're the only one making things for this dessert table. Now, if you have people pitching in, it's kind of a different story, but if you're on your own, for example, maybe you're going to bake a bunch of cupcakes and freeze them, or maybe you're going to make a bunch of pans of bars and freeze them. Whatever it might be that can be frozen, I'd really recommend doing that because it does make your life a ton easier. So freezing what you can, and just kind of even timelining that out, like, oh, I'll have time Thursday night to make these bars, whatever, and pop them in the freezer, so that you're building your timeline. So then you might have 2 days before your event, 1 day before your event, day of your event. There's some things like my shooters, those can't be really made till day before, day of. And as you're planning those dessert recipes, I would plan kind of a variety. So I definitely wouldn't make them all like have to be done on the last day. That wouldn't really work unless you have a lot of people to help you. So kind of coming up with some options that can be frozen, and then some fresher options, like whatever it might be that you're planning that out, and just creating a timeline of tasks to create those. So whether you're going to like bake your cupcakes, a month in advance and freeze them, and then fill and frost them the day before, whatever that looks like, that you've actually thought through that. Again, when we plan, things are much easier, and I know from experience that they will not be easy if you wait till the last minute. I've done that many times because I am a procrastinator, but planning is so much more enjoyable. So want to enjoy this event. And then the other thing that you really do want to plan is the transport. So what are you going to transport them in? I used to not think about this, and I actually had a wedding once I was doing, and I had everything made, and I had to travel 2.5 hours. I know this is really dumb, but I really hadn't thought much about what I was going to transport them in. Like, I had a few things, but like I hadn't really thought about everything. And so I do not make that mistake anymore. A lot of times, like for an economical option, I will use the steam trays like from Sam's that are disposable if things fit well in those, or I have a different way to transport shooters. Anyway, I think about that ahead of time now. I don't wait until I finish baking and like I need to be there in an hour to think about what I'm going to transport things in. And especially with cupcakes, putting those on a sheet tray, throwing some plastic wrap over them, that does not work because it comes down and smashes them. And if you don't think about those things, then that's probably what you're going to end up doing. So having a plan, whether that's going on Amazon and ordering specific cupcake containers, whatever it might be, that you've actually thought about that you have that ready to go, and that I actually recently bought some reusable like Rubbermaid containers, and I've enjoyed those for the most part. But whatever it might be, that you think about that so that things make it there safely, and if it's an option to do it there, that's great. But safe transport is like key, because if you can't get it there in one piece, then all your hard work is wasted. So that's kind of the process I go through to plan a dessert table. If you want to see more videos about dessert tables, like how I put them together, all of that kind of stuff, go ahead and leave your ideas down in the comments. I'd love to share more about how I put dessert tables together. And I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more dessert table videos or any other kind of videos, hit subscribe. And if you have those ideas, you can throw them in the comments. I'd love to see them. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.